quick. All right, so like I mentioned, make sure you guys have this assignment finished. MANIA, that acronym to help you with the causes to World War One. Again, I think this is a good example. Nice pictures, great. A definition of what the term is and an example. All right. Please study that. Please look over it for Friday's test. All right, perfect. The assignment, like I mentioned, you can do it on Cami, Canva, Photo app. I don't care whatever app you need to use to get this completed. Again, some of you just already got the printed version. Awesome. All right, this is going to be due tomorrow. We will go over it tomorrow. All right, like I said, I want to try to do a review game for you guys for Friday. That's the goal. That's the goal. All right, again, the game. What do we get? 24 seconds? 23. All right, so Blake holds the title as of now. You have till Friday when we take the exam to get a faster time. 100%. 100%. You got to screenshot it too. No offense, but I don't trust any of you. So you got to screenshot it so I can see it. All right. Ben, just kidding. All right. Anyway, here are your terms. Here are your terms. So we already went over these terms. So that's why I'm going to kind of scroll through it real quick as I describe them, as I go over them again. All right. I talked about these through the lessons, and you should have an idea of it. But I want to make sure you have your terms down for just another study tool. And you can turn that in for points for Friday. All right. Alsace-Lorraine, again, that's that territory in between what two countries? What two countries? Oh, someone yelled it out. Hey, is that you? Jumping all over it. Go ahead. Yeah, good job. And Germany took this territory, this land, after what war? In 1870? Before Germany was even unified, huh? Oh, go ahead, Mal. Yeah, the Franco-Prussian War. So this was an asset here. This was a benefit for Germany. Anyway, like I mentioned, this territory. Oh, yeah, okay. That was the second time this year, I think. All right, okay, here we go. Back to it. So with Alsace and Lorraine as territory, it is rich with coal, oil, right? When you think about the Rhine River, that's important for transportation. And guess what? A nice buffer zone between Germany and France. Okay? All right, so there's that territory. Obviously, France is not happy about that whatsoever. They're not happy about it at all. So this is going to fuel tensions leading up to World War One. That's right. All right, jingoism. Okay, I said about yesterday. All right, this is pretty much nationalism. So national pride, extreme sense of it, to a point where you'll go to war, start a conflict with someone, just based off of your pride alone in your own country. That year number one, survival of the fittest, social Darwinism. This all applies to that term. All right, so a lot of newspapers during this time period really heighten this idea of nationalism. Okay, Anglo-German naval arms race. Are you writing this down, folks? You gotta have these terms. Anglo-German naval arms race is just the arms race between Great Britain and Germany. Okay, and we mentioned about this tension between these two countries building up to World War One. All right, we already know Great Britain's been the dominant naval power. All right, Germany is looking to overtake that. And we already mentioned with dreadnoughts, okay, these modern day battleships that Great Britain invested a lot in. Germany's creating some too, but not near as much, right? Great Britain still has the numbers when it comes to battleships on the surface. U-boats. What are U-boats again? Jason? Submarines, underwater ships, underwater boats, however you want to describe it. That might be a little bit easier to understand, but a submarine, right? Germany realized that on the surface they can't compete, but underneath the water, this is how they're going to do it. And this caused tensions between Germany and Great Britain, as Germany's becoming this new bully, right, in Europe, this new world power that's starting to emerge. And these older countries, right, these older prosperous, powerful countries really don't like this, that Germany's becoming so strong. All right, Triple Alliance. We already talked about this as well. What countries belong to the Triple Alliance? This is at the start of the war, even before the war is happening. And this is where the Congress of Vienna is just totally getting broken apart. Jason. Yeah, good job. And, well, we already know Italy will drop out. They'll jump on the victor's side of actually here, right? Front runners. Okay, triple entente. What do we have for the triple entente? Who's involved with triple entente? What's the other alliance system before the war starts? Some other than Jason, I appreciate it. Thank you. Elena, thank you. Yeah, France, Great Britain, and Russia. So again, France, Russia, well, they see an opportunity to seek an alliance because, well, Germany is this world power. And if they stay on either side, they're gonna have the clear advantage. If Germany's gonna start a war, they're gonna have to fight on two fronts. All right, we already mentioned with France and Germany, they already hate each other. Now, all of a sudden, with that arms race, that naval arms race, Germany and Great Britain don't like each other too much. So just because Germany becoming a world power, France and Great Britain see eye to eye. The friend of my friend, sorry, no, that's not how it goes. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Jeez. So with France and Great Britain, you can see that they have a common foe now. They have a rival here with Germany. They don't like them. And their tensions that they had, these conflicts for literally years since the start of this course, well, they can put that on the back burner for now. Well, forever, I guess. All right, so there's the alliance systems. Central powers, allied powers, we just talked about this as well. The central powers, known as Central Europe, okay, Germany, Austria, Hungary. Now that Italy jumps sides, we got the Ottoman Empire involved. So if you see central powers on the test, make sure you think, Central Europe, boom. All right, allied powers. So this is the triple entente. And then, yeah, you'll see other countries being involved. Right, the United States will join in 1917, okay? And a lot of these other smaller countries here. Italy will join in, you got it. But anyway, the Allied powers, and you got France, Great Britain, Russia. And then in 1917, you'll see United States. Those are the main ones. All right, Franz Ferdinand, we already talked about him too. He's the Archduke of Austria-Hungary. That got assassinated. All right. Anyway, who did he get assassinated by? Well, the terms right here. You have Gavrilo Princip. Princip was a part of this extreme Serbian nationalist group. And what was this terrorist group called? Oh, Austin.
Black Hand.
The Black Hand. Oh, there it is, the Black Hand. So again, we talked about these terms. That's why I'm going to kind of going through them very quick. All right, Kaiser Wilhelm II. And this is where we're at right now. All right, so Kaiser Wilhelm II, as you know, the son of the first, right? The first, he got crowned at what palace again? What palace? Oh, Brody. Palace of Versailles, good job. All right, so Kaiser Wilhelm II is now given this German power, this strong military presence, like a strong country now in Europe. And now that Bismarck's gone, right, Bismarck kind of got shoved to the side here by Kaiser Wilhelm II. And again, Kaiser Wilhelm II is like, hey, I'm the emperor, I'm the Kaiser. I don't need to listen to some old man that's past his time. So Bismarck's out now, and he later dies shortly after. Now Kaiser Wilhelm II is looking at all of Europe and the world and thinking about mania, the causes of World War I, right? He wants to seek this dominance, this number one, right, so to speak, as a country. And he doesn't care how he achieves it. He'll go to war, two fronts, doesn't matter. He'll take on whoever, Great Britain, France, Russia, at the same time, no big deal. So again, he kind of, through his aggression, right, through his I guess his extreme optimism, thinking that he can just take on the whole world at once, kind of throws Germany into this two-front war from the very beginning. He bites off a little bit more than he can chew. He's really the reason we see that naval arms race between Germany and Great Britain, because he wants a strong naval power too, which every leader should try to seek the benefit of their country. But to throw it in a costly war like this, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, we'll mention about more of this throughout the course of this chapter, but even towards the end. All right, Schlieffen plan. What was this plan again, huh? What was this plan? Austin.
Germany's plan to go into, it was Belgium.
Ooh, okay, to attack who?
Uh,
Yeah, okay, good. So as this war breaks out, after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, and all the countries get, boom, pulled into this war because the alliance systems. Well, now Germany has to make a decision, a quick one. And their decision is going to be, well, we have to fight a two-front war. How are we going to do this? How are we going to achieve it? It's going to be difficult. Give me 1 second. Hello, Mr. Bowman. Yep. Bye. Jason, you left some stuff on the school bus. All right, get it after class. Or, okay, sounds good. All right, so with the Schlieffen Plan, okay, this is Germany's idea of combating against this two-front war, right? So yeah, they got Russia here to the east, they got France to the west. So you got to defeat someone quick, fast, and they decided to go after France first. Why? Why didn't they go after Russia first? What's the reason for this? Luna? Yeah, good job, right? So we already know Germany has trains, right? This railroad interconnection transportation, but Russia does not, right? France is starting to develop that, right? And they realize, hey, that Franco-Prussian War was tough on us, so we got to do something to innovate. Anyway, so Germany thinks, well, Russia is not going to be able to mobilize their troops fast enough, right? We can probably defeat France and then at the same time get our troops over to the Eastern Front before they even get their troops ready to go. So Germany thought, we'll take on the country here to the west first, France, that has their troops already lined along this Maginot Line. All right, so again, that Maginot Line, we'll talk more about this when we get to World War II as well. But this defense system that France loaded up ever since the end of the Franco-Prussian War. They had bunkers, they had trenches, they were equipped for another German invasion. Anyway, Germany thought, we're not going to go right through that Maginot Line, that'd be suicide. Right, we'll send some troops there, right, to try to hold, and try to kind of bring them out, right, to show their defenses. And we'll actually take the bulk of our army through. Austin, you said it, what country?
Belgium.
Belgium, yeah, so Belgium's right up here, guys. Right, so with the map, that should have helped you guys out to understand where this is. But with Germany, right, they're gonna send their troops through Belgium, right? France won't even see it coming, okay? And this is a way to surprise France in order to try to gain this quick, decisive victory. So Germany sends their troops through Belgium, and the idea, they're gonna act like a what? What did I say yesterday? Act like a what? A swinging door. Yes, good job. And that swinging door here is gonna capture what key city here in France? As you can see, this city is very close to Belgium. Paris, yeah, good job. So as they capture Paris, they can come down here and surround the French troops at the Maginot Line. Right, and that's over. Western Front done, just like that. Listen, I didn't mention this yesterday in your class, but real quick, as the swinging door comes up here, it's going to focus a lot of attention around the English Channel. Right, why is that important? You can prevent who from coming over and saving the day? Jason? Yes, good. So make sure you guys note that. All right, make sure you put that down. So as the German troops are marching through Belgium, they're going to hover around this English Channel. And they're going to prevent the landing of the British troops. They can do that. They can prevent England from even stepping foot on mainland Europe and swing down and get Paris. Boom, done. Western Front complete. What happened though? Did that happen? Did it work? What occurred? What happened here? Elena? Yes, good job. All right. So when it comes to the telegraph, these cables, right, these telegrams that are being sent all around the world, it has to flow through London. They're the ones that had the capital to really interconnect the world together, right? Why they do it? They're colonies, right? Let's face it. They had to have quick communication, and the telegraph was the right choice. Anyway, even in warfare, World War I, right? When Germany's sending these telegrams out, London actually receives it first, right? And London, right, with Great Britain, they're the ones that are going to try to break these codes, right? That Germany's going to use to try to cover up, right, these plans. And we'll talk more about that here down the line, right, as intelligence plays a key role in World War I. So with that being said, okay, with London, as they intercept this message, you're like, wait a minute, we got to send troops quick. France, hey, they're coming through Belgium, and they stop this. And this creates the Western Front. All right, the warfare of World War I is known as, trench warfare. That's what we're going to talk about today. Here we go. So everybody follow along. Those are your terms up to this point. Okay, so this slide here just talks about the Western Front, trench warfare, right? Yeah, there's trench warfare going on in Eastern Front as Russia mobilizes their troops quicker than what Germany could realize. And at the same time, right, that Western Front's getting halted, stopped. The German advancement is in just this little stalemate with French troops and then British troops as they make their way to the Western. All right, so with trench warfare, there's over 400 miles of trenches dug from the English Channel all the way down to Gallops. And I talked about that yesterday. But real quick, the idea of trench warfare, it is brutal, It's awful. It's terrible, but mostly boring, right? You are literally waiting for your enemy to cross this land in between the two trenches. Does anybody know what that land's called? Should have this as a term, but I didn't put it on. Boston?
Is it no man's land?
Yeah, no man's land, right? So obviously kind of self-explanatory there. You won't be caught dead there, or you would be caught dead there, right? So as the trenches are dug out, right, the area between is just littered with barbed wire, right, mines, and you gotta imagine artillery's constant bombing, right, no man's land to prevent any type of opposition movement, right? You want to prevent your enemy from making their way across. So in other words, there really wasn't a lot of movement here because, well, it was suicide. It literally was. And we'll talk about some of the weapons here that were created during this time period in order to try to break the gridlock, in order to try to break the stalemate. Right, so we'll mention about tanks and flamethrowers and airplanes, how they're getting applied to the battlefield. And I'm thinking about doing a project for that where you guys will research a weapon of warfare during World War I and present on it. I think that would be fun. I think you guys will find it interesting. But real quick, this slide, real quick, is just detailing about that area between the trenches is called no man's land. All right, so here's an example of these trenches that are dug all the way out throughout Europe. And still to this day, there is some environmental impacts from World War I. I know there was a Second World War, but the First World War, these trenches that are dug all this way, right, all this way throughout Europe, you can still see where they're dug out. So I put out, you guys will see it, I put out a link to a virtual tour through the trenches. It's going to be attached to this video lesson here today. So I recommend you guys checking it out. There's a lot more information about trenches, and you can kind of take a tour through different parts of it, which is neat. Hold on one second, baby. All right, so here's a good example of what the trenches would look like. So here's no man's land. Obviously, on the other side, you'll see something very similar with the opposition. Okay, so with that, one thing to know is that the Germans realized that this is going to be a longer war than what Great Britain and France thought. So they had a little bit more sophistication with their trenches. They had a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it, but luxury, right? A little bit better lifestyle in the trenches than what the French and British troops had. So real quick, this is what it kind of looked like. So with the trenches, no man's land here, you have the barbed wire in order to try to prevent any type of aggressive movement, offensive movement from your enemy, right? They get caught in the barbed wire and easy pickings, right? As they're hanging up, literally looking like a puppet dangling in the barbed wire, you can pick them off, no problem. Right, you got machine gun nests right here in what they call the firing trench. Literally, because you're firing, okay, makes sense. And you'll have snipers, you'll have different types of rifling here in this front trench. Real quick, as you can see, it's dug out in a zigzag. Why do they dig their trenches out in a zigzag? Eli. That's right, yeah, so if it's a straight line, and let's say your opposition, the enemy jumps in the trench, they can mow everybody down with these new machine guns, right? If it's a straight line, you're just knocking them down one after the other, right? If it's a zigzag though, it causes a break. It causes an area where, yeah, you might get a few guys here, but you gotta keep moving through the trench in order to continue to take down more of the enemy. So yeah, they dug them out in zigzags here in order to try to prevent, right? A lot of the enemies the enemy, if they get in your trench, taking everybody down all at once. All right, and as you can see here, there is a chain. It almost looks like in a way, like tunnels that an ant would create underground, right? But this is how they would try to have these support trenches, right? Where people would come back here into these areas where you see the number 2 in order to get a little bit of a night's sleep. Good luck, because there's constant fire. There's constant artillery shells flying over top of your head, right? So chances are you're not going to get a good sleep. Right, back here in this area too, this is where you'll see where number 3 is. A lot of the planning happening, okay, where the generals and different types of captains would come together and say, hey, when are we going to make our attack? When are we going to make our movement across no man's land? And then in the very back, you see the artillery batteries, right? The artillery constantly shooting over top of everybody's heads, right, over the trenches. And this is just, again, a very long, drawn-out war, right? The enemy, Germany, Great Britain, and France, they didn't really want to make too many movements across no man's land because it was suicide. And we'll talk more about that later. All right, here's another look at it, okay? One of the biggest problems is rain, right? Snow, right? The weather. and how that would just build itself up in the trenches. So a lot of times they needed a firing step, fire gun, right? A step here in the trench in order to make sure you keep your feet dry. One of the biggest issues was trench foot, right? As this mud, this water would build up, and let's face it, you went to the bathroom there too. You had to always keep an eye on the end of it. So this would just be floating around in the trenches, and you can imagine just how disgusting and gross that really was. So trench foot would be a lot of the ailments, a lot of the issues for these troops as they're standing in this muck, this mud, and yeah, their feces for long periods of time. Their foot would get swollen up, numb, to a point where just forget it. All right, last thing I want to mention, shell shock's a big issue, like rats. As the dead was piling up, right, as your buddies would die around you, you would pile up there in front in order to have somewhat of a shield from incoming fire. But at the same time, with the dead, feces, right, some of the food that even you might have, this would attract rats. These rats would become massive, right? There's many reports of people waking up and there's the rats gnawing at their feet, gnawing at their legs, eating them alive. Right, there's some pictures even where these troops would have barbed wire surrounding their beds in order to try to protect them from rats literally eating them as they're in the trenches. So that's one of the biggest issues here too. Here's a good I won't say propaganda, but a magazine telling people about trench foot and how to protect and keep your feet dry. Good luck. Good luck. Anyway, there's the rats. Look out. All right, see you guys later. Take care.
Sorry, it was a complete accident.
It's
I really
okay.
didn't mean it. Because I on my mind and I can't really afford to get rid. Sorry.
Oh, I never- that's-
See,